Hi everyone, so Robin here, and welcome back to a new What If series. What if Larvitar joined Ash's team? Larvitar was always one of those Pokemon who just felt like it should have been a part of Ash's team, but it was never actually caught by Ash. So with that, we're going to change that now, and with that, let's begin. So our story begins at the top of Mount Silver, where Ranger Mason is doing her regular recon. While the poacher that was there before has been dealt with, Mount Silver is still a renowned target for Pokemon poachers and thieves. While on the run, he actually ran into Larvitar again, which has started to get accustomed to her, but only her. The thing he had noticed on the run is that Larvitar became way much shyer than most Pokemon. The trauma of what happened while it was in an egg has severely impacted it and its ability to interact with other Pokemon. It seems only able to do this when its mother Tyranitar is nearby or right next to it. But that is unfortunately not a good interaction for a Pokemon at Larvitar's age. Ranger Mason wishes she is able to do something about it, but she's mainly here to protect the Pokemon in Mount Silver, not directly interact with their business. While being on one of her breaks, trying to figure out what she would do, she decided to turn on the TV, seeing if it would clear her mind for a bit. But the thing on screen is actually from the Silver Conference, where Ash is in his top 16 battle. Larvitar, who is happy to be nearby at the time, and seated and actually wishes he was watching it. When Mason decides aloud to open the window so Larvitar can jump into a room watching the TV, and he sees Ash battling against his rival Gary O. Larvitar couldn't get his eyes off the screen for a single minute. It seemed to be completely enamored by it, being it both an interesting battle or it just being at the battle. Ranger Mason couldn't tell, but what she can tell is that Larvitar misses Ash. It was the one human that Larvitar seems to truly be able to connect with. While he is not gonna run to be scared around the Ranger Mason anymore, he still have a tendency to harden up around other Pokemon and definitely the other Rangers. He realizes that he can't just let this stay as it is now, that something had to be done. So she decided to call in the Ranger headquarters, questioning about the situation and what she should be doing. After a bit of discussion, they come to the conclusion that the Pokemon's well-being is gonna be their #1 priority. And while it may seem unconventional, if Larvitar's well-being is being away from Mount Silver and being close to the humans that helped it, then that it had to be what happened. Ranger may understand what it means and decide to contact someone that lives close to where Ash's home is, none other than Professor Oak. After explaining the situation to her, Professor Oak explains that he's more happy to have Larvitar and his mother if he will allow it and his ranch. He majority of them are well cared for, and there are plenty of Pokemon for Larvitar to interact with. While that is all good and jolly, there's still one Pokemon she needs to get permission for, and that's Tyranitar. Ranger Mason approached his Tyranitar, explaining the situation and that Larvitar trauma may be able to heal more effectively if it's closer to Ash. While Tyranitar is hesitant on leaving his home, he recognizes that this may just be what's best for his child, so they decide to agree to it, and with that, Ranger Mason started making the preparations for Larvitar and Tyranitar to have a little move. A while later, we then cut to Ash as he has returned to Pallet Town after his adventure in Johto, as well as reuniting with all his Pokemon at the ranch, and lastly, having a goodbye to his old rival Gary, who is currently deciding to embark on a journey to become a Pokemon professor. Ash has decided that his next journey is going to take him to the region of Hoenn, and he is about to rush back to his home and Oak's lab to tell his mom and Professor Oak about his plans. But once he gets to the lab again, Professor Oak explains that he actually has a surprise for Ash waiting in the ranch. Ash follows him, and when he gets to the ranch, he sees none other than Tyranitar. Being surprised by it, Ash then noticed the scar on Tyranitar, realizing that he knows this one. But before he can say anything, suddenly something about behind him, and Ash, as well as Pikachu, is shocked to see none other than Larvitar jumping into the air and hugging Ash. Ash is confused by it, and Proto complained that with Larvitar trauma, the Ranger community had agreed that Larvitar and Tyranitar is allowed to stay in the ranch, and even allowing Larvitar to travel with Ash more, if that is what Larvitar so wishes, and it may just be what he needs to help improve. Ash looks at Larvitar, questioning if that is what he wants, and Larvitar nods in agreement. Ash then turns his head toward Tyranitar, asking if it's alright, and Tyranitar nods as well, gesturing that that is what's best for his son, and as a mother, she wants to do whatever is best. So with that, Ash throws a Pokemon in the air, and Larvitar jumps up and taps it, being officially added to the team. Later that night, while Ash has dinner with his mom, Professor Oak, and Tracy, alongside Pikachu and Larvitar, who is over for a visit, Ash explains that he's gonna travel to their home region by only bringing Pikachu and Larvitar. He originally planned on only bringing Pikachu, but since Larvitar decided to come with him for now, he decided he wanted to spend more time with it, so we're going to bring him to the home region. Professor Oak approved of the idea, and Delia also gave Ash a new set of traveling clothes. And so, the following day, Ash is on his new journey with Pikachu and Larvitar in tow. The following episode, Home Alone, doesn't really change much from a story perspective. The only real difference I can see is that now when Team Rocket captured Pikachu, Ash can use Larvitar to battle them, but everything pretty much goes the same as they did in canon, with Pikachu still getting overloaded with electricity at the end. Things for most part continue onward in the next episode, with Pikachu still flying May's bike, her becoming a new traveling companion, and even choosing Torchic as her starter. So pretty much everything stays on the canon course for a bit until we get to the episode 3 of the Advanced series, There's No Place Like Home. This is where Ash meets May's younger brother Max, as well as her parents, including her father Norman, who is the Pellsbury gym leader. But since the gym battle is a 3-on-3, Ash cannot do it since he only has 2 Pokemon. Norman still agrees to having an unofficial match, being a 1-on-1, and he's still ending up using Vigoroth, but Ash using Larvitar. Max is surprised seeing Larvitar, being a Pokemon he didn't even know Ash had. The battle immediately begins, however, it's clear that Vigoroth is far more experienced than Larvitar, as its speed and power is almost too much for Larvitar. However, Larvitar is able to pull back by using a combination of Screech and Dig to both destroy his Vigoroth and to quickly avoid attack while striking hard. However, in the end, Vigoroth is able to land a powerful scratch, which is too much, and Larvitar is taken down. Ash rushes over to it and complimented on a battle well fought, and Norman compliments that Larvitar definitely has spirit, but it definitely has a lot left to learn. Things from that point goes pretty much the same as canon, as when Ash leaves, both May and Max is accompanying him, and they next set off for Rustboro City. Episode 4 and Episode 5 goes pretty much the same way, and Ash stealing it and not catching Tailo, and Brock joining the team again, being a bit surprised to see Larvitar there, but being happy nonetheless. But then we have the next episode, A Poacher's Ego, which goes a bit different. When Larvitar learns there's a Pokemon hunter involved, it gets a bit scared, but also determined, not wanting another Pokemon to be put through the same fear it was put through. So Larvitar is more than happy to help looking for the poacher. However, none of them knows that Team Rocket are already with the poacher trying to free all the eggs and Coughing he had captured. However, in the midst of the battle, the poacher Pupitar evolves into Tyranitar. However, the roar is actually able to be heard by Larvitar. So he immediately rushes towards it, and with that, Ash, the gang, and Officer Jenny arrive at the scene, where they see Team Rocket constantly taking several Hyper Beams, with Ekans squeezing standing behind them with tears in their eyes. The gang's arrival alerts the poachers, as his focus is temporarily taken off Team Rocket, and immediately the battle immediately shifts towards them. However, with the teamwork of Pikachu, Larvitar, and Fortress, they are able to push back the poacher Tyranitar long enough for Officer Jenny to be able to arrest him. That's when Ash turned toward Team Rocket, questioning what they are doing here, with me explaining that Weezing and Arbok didn't want to leave all these Ekans and Coughing, so they decided to help them out. Larvitar then approached all the Ekans and Coughing and explained that they do no longer have to be afraid, that Officer Jenny is going to take them to a place where they're going to be safe and happy. All of them agreed to it, and with nothing tying them back, Weezing and Arbok go with Jesse and James as they then run away because they realize there's a police nearby. So the episode ends with Ash and the gang has saved all these Pokemon, and a bit further away, James ended up catching Cacnea, since this doesn't really change the impact that James had on Cacnea. So he's still ending up hugging him and inevitably hurting him too. The following episode goes exactly the same, with Ash still ending up in adding Trico to the team. However, the following episode, A Tale with a Twist, actually has a way different output. Team Rocket still end up trying to capture the Viper. However, in a timeline when they still have Arbok and Weezing, and adding a new Pokemon Cacnea on the team, they are going overconfident and don't believe they need any traps or anything tricky to capturing it, and believe they can just getting it by defeating it. So with that, Jesse, James, and Meowth launch an all-out assault on the Viper. However, it quickly proven to be too strong, as Cacnea quickly falls to a Poison Tail, and the combination of haste prevents Wobbuffet to effectively use counter, so he's taken down quickly. Weezing is also completely squished by a Wrap, so his end is taken between the Viper and Arbok, and both being circle-like Pokemon, and this becomes some sort of rivalry between them, wanting to prove who's best. However, the Viper is far more brutal in his attacks and is able to get the upper hand, and in the end, Team Rocket is severely wounded as the Viper simply slithered away. And so, when Trico is ready for his rematch with the Viper, the gang actually have to look around for it, but they're eventually finding it. And with that, Trico and the Viper have the rematch, and Trico's still ending up winning. Yet as the Viper is about to try to get up, a net falls over it, and the Team Rocket revealing they're attempting to capture the Viper again. However, a combination of Trico and Pikachu, they're able to freeze the Viper and eventually send Team Rocket blasting off again. However, when the gang looked where the Viper was, it's now gone. Believing that the Viper simply left in the middle of the battle, the gang continued on the journey, not knowing that someone is in the bushes spying on them. It revealed to be the Viper. Pretty much everything from this point goes according to canon, with Brock still ended up catching Lowtown, Meg getting inspired to do Pokemon content instead of gym battles, Pikachu starting to try to use Mattering Iron Tail, and May able to catch herself a runner ball. Eventually it's time for Ash to have his first gym battle in the home region against Roxanne. When the battle begins, they started off by sending out Geodude and Larvitar. Ash wanted to give Larvitar a taste of his ever first gym battle, decided to leave with it. Larvitar actually performed very well. Using a combination of Screech and Dig, he can easily destroy Geodude when getting close with a Mega Punch or Rollout, and striking back with super effective damage. As Geodude tries to use Rock Throw, Larvitar counters it with the power, cancelling it out. Eventually, Larvitar lands a decisive Dig, which takes down Geodude relatively easily. Her next Pokemon is Nosepass, and using a combination of Sandstorm and Rock Tomb, Nosepass is actually able to trap Larvitar before it can use Dig to get away. Launching another volley of Rock Tombs later, and Larvitar is eventually very weakened. I tried to have Larvitar going for another Dig, however, Roxanne has Nosepass use a Sap Cannon aiming it down the hole. While the attack doesn't do damage, it's still able to produce enough force to force Larvitar out of the hole before another Rock Tomb knocks it out. Ash thanks Larvitar for his hard work and sends in Pikachu. And this matchup goes pretty much the same as it did in canon. However, with Pikachu being at full health now, it's actually able to take down Nosepass far quicker, meaning Ash now has his first gym badge in the home region. The following episode goes pretty much exactly as it did in canon, and now it's time for Ash to take on his second gym battle against Brawly, the fighting specialist. This matchup ended up going to exactly the same as it did in canon, with Ash leading with Taillow against Brawly's matchup before falling, so Ash had to use Trico to finish matchup off. So Brawly went in with Makuhita, who evolved into Hariyama during the battle and quickly defeated Trico. While Ash lost just like in canon, this time around, the loss have a bit more of an importance to it. The first gym battle he had in Hoenn, he used his older Pokemon and he was able to win. But now he used his newer Pokemon and lost. Ash realizes that the gap between his older and newer Pokemon may be bigger than he originally thought. And not wanting to only rely on his older Pokemon, he decided from this point he's going to put into training his newer Pokemon while not neglecting his older one. The following adventure throughout Dewford Island goes pretty much exactly as it did in canon, with May's Wurmple evolving twice into Beautifly, Jesse's Wurmple also evolving twice into Dustox, Ash catching Corphish, Brock catching Mudkip, and eventually Ash is ready for his next match against Brawly. It started just like in canon with matchup versus Trico, but eventually Ash decided to switch out Trico, but this time around he sent in Taillow, believing it would be more meaningful to use the same Pokemon he lost to Brawly at first to prove that he does not have to rely on his older Pokemon. Taillow is able to get in with Quick Attack and Wing Attacks and is eventually able to take Mashop down. Next is Hariyama, and while Taillow is quick, Hariyama's power is not to mess around with, and in the end is able to land a knockoff which takes down Taillow. And so, Trico comes back in, and this match goes exactly the same as canon, and the final clash of Pound and Knockoffs ending up with Trico winning and Ash getting his second gym badge. A few of the following episodes go pretty much as they did in canon. However, while May is practicing for her ever first Pokemon contest, Ash is doing some training with his own Pokemon when he's noticing that Corphish is apparently trying to dig into the sand and wondering if Corphish is trying to learn the move Dig. Seeing this, he had Larvitar show Corphish the move, and at the time the contest rolls around, Corphish had completely mastered Dig. Things unfold just like they did in canon, with May still losing the contest and everything mostly following the same story, until we get to the gang reaching Marvel City, where Ash will have his first gym battle against Watson. Watson started off by sending in Magnemite, but in this timeline, Ash actually sent in Corphish first, wanting to use his new Pokemon instead of falling back on his old ones. His friends and Watson is a bit surprised that I use a water type against an electric type, but the thing Watson don't know is that Corphish can hit the electric type for super effective damage with Dig. So whenever Magnemite tries to launch an electric type move like Thunder Wave, Corphish uses Dig to avoid it and striking from below. Then when he tries to go for Swift, Corphish can be countered with a Bubble Beam, and in the end Corphish is able to getting close with a Dig before landing a Crab Hammer knocking out Magnemite. However, before the battle can continue, Pikachu starts breathing heavily. It will reveal that he has gotten overcharged by electricity caused by the gym's Raikou statue. Watson immediately brings Pikachu into a spare room when they have a device that can strain access electricity, and with that, Pikachu is healed. However, Watson still recommends taking Pikachu to the Pokemon Center right away, just in case. It does so, and Pikachu getting a quick heal at the Pokemon Center, and after a while, they return to the gym. However, now the question is, what are they gonna do about the battle? They can't just go back to it now after such a long break, but that is when Watson recommends that instead they do it a bit of a free battle, and the first one to win 2 one-on-one matches will win. Since Ash Corphish won against Watson Magnemite first, let's say that round ended in Ash's win. So if Ash managed to win one more round, he gets his badge. Ash agreed to it, and with that, the two of them send in their next Pokemon, Voltorb and Trico. As Trico tried to go in with speed with quick attack, Voltorb unleashed a Screech with the Story in Trico before going in with a Rollout. Trico's speed allowed it to avoid it for a while. However, Rollout's speed and power get built up so much, it's eventually able to strike. And with Voltorb also unleashing a couple of Screeches, it's able to stop Trico from moving around too much, and the after defense drop makes it Rollout do even more, and eventually, on a 4-hitter rollout, Trico tried countering it with a spinning pound, but unfortunately, this rollout is too much and Trico falls. Meaning, now the matchup is tied up 1-1, and one more round will finish it off. With that, Washington in his final Pokemon Magneton. However, with Pikachu still recovering through its overcharge and Halo's weakness to electric, I only have one option left in Larvitar. Before immediately launching Swift, Larvitar countering it with a hidden power. The attack seems to be dead even, and Larvitar immediately goes for another dig, and is able to land, but then Magneton unleashes a Supersonic. The attack lands, causing Larvitar to become confused, which allows Magneton to fire off another switch with hit. As Magneton rushes in with an tackle, Larvitar defends itself with a Harden, which is able to soften the blow before using a Screech, which actually caused the Magneton metal to resonate with it, causing it to shake, which allows Larvitar to go into the ground and striking Magneton with a powerful dig before launching a hidden power, knocking out Magneton, meaning that Ash has won his third gym back, and with Pikachu now healed, the game can continue on their journey. The journey continues mostly the same as it did in canon, but when we reach the episode, let's Bagon for Bagons, because when the game meets Michelle, she actually wishes to battle Larvitar, seeing how both Bagon and Larvitar are first stage of the legendaries. Ash agrees, and the battle is fought into a standstill until Team Rocket interrupts them. However, after rescuing the day, Bagon evolves into Sheldon. However, just then, Larvitar also evolves into Pupitar. Ash is really happy about Larvitar's evolution, and Pupitar seems also to be happy of having become stronger. However, the evolution is not the only surprise, because eventually, the game reunites with Misty again, and actually introduces the newly evolved Pupitar to her, and Misty is surprised not only in seeing Larvitar again, but he also have evolved. The events of the encounter with the Togepi and the Mirage Kingdom goes mostly the same as in canon. However, once Pupitar is into battle, it apparently that things have changed. While Pupitar is able to demonstrate a newly learned move of Rock Slide, whenever the ninjas get trying to attack, Larvitar is trying his best to dodge. However, when he jumps out of the way, it's too slow, showing that while Pupitar is stronger than Larvitar, it's also slower. So throughout the adventure, Pupitar is starting to realize it not be able to move around as much as it did before, and he's getting a bit frustrated about it. When I sees it, he promises Pupitar that he's going to work hard in order to help it master his new form. And that will be all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in part 2. Bye!